Ask if are they ready?
Are you ready?
Okay, so let's test our audio and visual again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Was that consistent?
Yeah. It sounded like it counted to 10.
So you hear us count. Can you hear? Can you hear me counting to 10 without interruption? Is that correct?
Yes. Okay, count to 10.
Yeah, but I'm hearing echoing. And this is annoying because everything I say is coming back to me again.
Okay. Now, do you hear anything now? Oops. Okay, do you hear an echo?
Okay, so I'm still hearing my own echoing voice.
I don't know how that's coming on that.
It's looping.
The only thing we could do now is if we go on the other side, I don't know if it's gone into our electronics or what here.
Is your speaker and microphone far away?
Yeah. It's not that far away. It's maybe 4 foot.
It should be very far away so that it doesn't keep looping.
Yeah. Okay, but I think what the deal is, Mary, is that we got one of these other microphones that's looping. We have like 12 microphones in this room, none of which we have any control over. We got to put that. No, that part. I wish they had some control. Is that new?
Do you still hear echoing?
Actually, I'm hearing my own echoing, not your echoing.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm still hearing my echoing.
Technology right now.
Hey, Candace, you mind? Well, they're hearing an echo. I don't know how they're hearing the echo, but. Okay.
And when I say something, then you receive it, and then it broadcasts back to us again.
It's the camera. I just moved everything over here, so it's probably looking away from the speaker. Yeah, but then it still has the same thing. They created this room, and they're really proud of this room. The problem is it's not functional. Yeah, I haven't had technology all year. So I'll tell you about some other time.
Hey, Michael.
Okay. Yeah, I think we found out what the deal is. It's this room that's not compatible. So we're going to unplug this and put it into another part of the room away from the speakers. Okay?
Okay.
Real quick. Okay, now let's try this up here.
And also, the speaker needs to be really, really close to the microphone so that it doesn't start
Yeah, well, I don't think part of our problem was, I kind of know what the problem is, it's just, you know,
Okay,
it's,
so I'm gonna start speaking again and see if I can hear my own echoing.
okay.
Oh yeah, that's better. That's much better.
Yeah, I chose, I gotta try to get this working, but let's move this over here.
Yes, I don't seem to hear my. Oh, now it's back again.
Can you hear it now?
Yeah, I have to keep talking and see if I hear my own voice all broadcast back to us again. So, for confirmation, everything that I'm saying is very loud and clear at your side. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right. So, except for the part that we keep hearing what we are saying ourselves, I guess it's fine. And sometimes, what you say at your end is garbled, and we cannot actually understand the words because all the sound is garbled together.
The other thing, I didn't have it on the speaker, I had it on the right speaker.
Are you moving your furniture, Michael?
I'm busting up the furniture too. Let me see if I can get this. Okay. Okay, can you see her?
So are you using a laptop?
Yes. Unfortunately, that's all we have in this room.
Right. And you might need to move the laptop closer to the speaker.
We're trying to move that as best we can right now. Okay? Now,
Because when you are
you can. Go ahead.
when you are standing close to the laptop, the audio sounds much more clearly. And if you're further away, we cannot hear what the person is saying.
Okay, now you should be able to do it. Okay. Let's go ahead. Do the induction.
Can you hear me?
Not really.
A little bit louder.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Just say who you
I'm Emma Castro, and I'll be beginning this debate on my side. Are you ready?
are.
Okay, yeah. So are you the attorney for the defense?
She's going to give the opening statement and cross-examine. So whenever you get your opening statement ready, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Actually, part of what you said wasn't clear. It's all garbled again. But I'm guessing that you're saying we can start whenever we're ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so due to time constraint, we can probably agree on a few things before we start. So, for example, we will have the prosecution and defense do the opening at the very beginning.
Okay.
And then we will call the prosecution's witness both for direct and cross, respectively. And then we'll do the defense's witness, both of them cross and direct.
Okay.
And at the end, we will have the prosecution counsel and the defense counsel do their closing. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I would like to propose that for the cross part, perhaps we can limit each witness's cross-examination to around 5 minutes, and we will do the timing so that it doesn't draw out too long.
File
Pardon?
That is acceptable.
Okay. And because the students here are learning English as a foreign language and they don't actually speak it, so the listening is quite challenging for them. So pardon us if we have to hear your questions a couple of times before they are able to answer them.
That's completely understandable.
Okay, and please speak slowly. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, so we shall begin now. So perhaps prosecution counsel, you would like to begin your opening?
Yes.
Yes. Good morning, Your Honor. We are Kevin Zhang and Phoebe Liu, and we appear for the prosecution. The case is about the defendant in possession of drugs without justification, and we charge the defendant with the offense under Section 39, one of Illegal Importation of Narcotic Act of 1992. Here we provide a picture of this case. On 13th August 2008, the defendant was caught red-handed in possession of heroin. He claimed, and might claim today, his innocence by saying the drugs do not belong to him. He said the bag which contained the drugs belongs to a woman named Allison, who asked him to carry a bag for her. But we will prove to you that nothing supports Allison's story. The defendant was caught in possession of drugs, but has tried to mislead the police by making up a fictional character. And the defendant was in the customs officer's narcotic sniffer dogs has very clearly identified the defendant and no one else as the owner of the suitcase with heroin inside.
You will not see any signs or record of Allison that Peter Peddler claimed to have made on the plane, and then later asked Peter to carry the baggage. You will see no such woman as Allison existed. The baggage belongs to the defendant himself, and he intentionally brought heroin into Australia. The defendant should try to deny the fact that he knew the existence about the drugs inside his own baggage in order to escape from being charged. However, the truth lies before your very eyes. You will see there are only the defendant and his baggage of narcotic drugs, and no one else is connected to the baggage. Besides, even if Allison existed, as the defendant might claim, you will see no justification excuses him from the possession of narcotic drugs. This is not only obstructing the investigation, but also wasting a lot of resources. At the conclusion of this trial, you will see that the defendant is responsible for this crime, and he should be found guilty as charged. Thank you. That concludes our opening address.
Defense counsel, you may begin your opening.
I will now begin my statement. Your Honor, my client, Peter Peddler, is not... Okay. Your Honor, my client, Peter Peddler, is not on trial here. He is not accused, but rather he is the unwitting victim of the evils of our society. These evils include an overzealous group of police who jump to the wrong conclusion and then compound this mistake with very bad police work. This is justice. and simple. Who in this courtroom wouldn't have done the same exact thing as my client? Let's review the key facts of this case. First, my client, Peter Peddler, is a full-time University of Adelaide student, and a person without both a drug history or criminal record did indeed come home from the United States on Flight 13. He never had a criminal record and was not ever under any investigation before he won his trip to the United States. Second, he was on a field trip that he was awarded because of the good work done studying in the field in college. This trip allowed him to spend a week studying the social customs of aging Americans living in rest homes in San Francisco. Gentotrology is the field of study for Mr. Peddler in the discipline of anthropology that he studies. Does this sound like an international drug dealer? Of course not. If you were to the police, they captured some sort of large international drug dealer. Why? If the drugs in the suitcase packed it full of women's clothes and brought several tickets back to Australia, where did he get the network of connections? He had never been in the U.S. before. Where did he get the money to do this? Where is the money he is making on the drugs? There isn't any. And furthermore, where did he get the baggage claim check for the piece of luggage that was checked to a woman in San Francisco? The Crown would have you believe that a network of people working for him in the U.S. Does this even make any sense? Of course not. We are in a country with rules and laws, but the police have to follow those same laws as well. It was their job to investigate this case. However, their investigation was not thoroughly done or complete. Third, on the way back home on the 13th of August, Peter had the opportunity to strike up a conversation with a young 20-year-old attractive woman who was seated next to him on the plane. The name this lady gave to my client was Allison. In the course of their conversation, the drink trolley came by and ordered 2 drinks. After the drinks, my client heard problems plaguing Allison. The police never checked if the drinks were ordered or if the people on the plane could have seen a woman meeting this description. Fourth, Peter was told by Allison to pick up some baggage for her at the airport. She told him that she had to go visit her dying grandmother in the restaurant. The woman then gave the claim check stubs for the luggage to my client. These were the same stubs that were issued in San Francisco to the woman. It is very important to note that these bags were never proved to have been my client's. Peter had just picked up the luggage when the police had stopped him. At this point in time, Peter had not broken any laws. He was trying to help out a woman in distress. Wouldn't you have done the same thing in his case? The story was so powerful to Peter because he was in fact studying rest homes and knew how impersonal that place was to die. He couldn't help but try to calm this distressed woman done by helping her out. A rest home, Your Honor. The exact thing he had gone to the States to study, and the exact same thing that won him the trip in the first place. I submit before you today that these facts are an independent justification to negate the prosecution's claim of knowledge. Your Honor, under the precedent of Proudman v. Damer in 1941, the courts ruled as a general rule honest and reasonable belief in a state of facts which, if they existed, would make a defendant act innocent, affords an excuse for doing what would otherwise constitute an offense. This applies here because Peter had no knowledge of the contents of the luggage. The piece was only in his contact when police came, and the luggage had no other identifiable marks identifying the luggage to be Peter's. The fact that the baggage claim had a female name on it and the clothes inside the case were female clothes as well. Now, facts as we will present in court today are such that Proudman will be in work. In fact, it is the duty of the Crown to disclose and to investigate all the evidence before the trial. And the Crown did not do this. They never investigated Peter's story, and they never found Allison. It is often stated that the prosecutor's duty is not to obtain a conviction at all, means but simply to lay before the jury the whole of the facts which contents the case and to see that the jury are instructed with regard to the law and are able to apply the law to the facts. I would like to remind the Crown that you are innocent until proven guilty in South Australia and must prove intent and knowledge to get a conviction. In R. v. Stinchcombe in 1991, for example, Sophia J. stated that the fruits of investigation are which in the possession of counsel for the Crown are not the property of the Crown for use in securing a conviction, but the property of the public to ensure that justice is done. In this case, the Crown did not live up to this burden. The testimony of Peter Peddler was never investigated, and therefore this case is undermined. The lack of time between being asked for help, offering to pick up the luggage, and then being arrested was well under 2 hours. He couldn't have known what was inside a bag simply because he was on the plane where the bag was in the cargo hold. The first time he had ever seen the bag was when he picked it up. and police never fully investigated this case. By using this circumstantial case and evidence in this trial, the Crown has violated Essay Evidence Act of 1929. In Section 34D of that Act, there is a section about the weight to be attached to evidence. In Section 2 of 34D, it states that the purpose of any rule or law or practice requiring evidence to be corroborated or regulating the manner in which uncorroborated evidence is to be treated, a statement rendered admissible by evidence by the Act shall not be treated as corroboration of evidence given by the maker of the statement. This applies to the Crown as well. You cannot assume that something is another person's without more than circumstantial proof, and this circumstantial proof is a claim which the defense totally refutes here today in court. Your Honor, there is no crime committed by my client, and you must not find him guilty. That concludes my opening statement.
Thank you. Shall we call the first witness for the prosecution counsel?
Yes.
Yes, you may.
I call Thelma Pope. Please state your name and your occupation.
My name is Selma Pope, and I am customs officer employed for 13 years.
And what happened when you were doing routine search on 13th August 2008 in relation to the defendant?
My narcotic sniffer dog fan discovered the suspicious suitcase. Later fan identified the owner of the bag is Peddler.
And how can you be sure that the defendant was the owner of the suitcase?
Fan raised his head, cocked his leg, and began to shuffle forward when the defendant passed by. This is an identifying signal. Then I saw the defendant pick up the bags, so I am sure that the owner of the bag is defendant.
How did you know that this bag was not related to other passengers?
Fan gave no identifying signal when any other passenger passed by. He only identified the defendant.
And what did you do after the defendant picked up the bags?
I approached him as he stood in the clearance line. I asked him to open his bags. He opened one, and that's fine. However, he refused to open the other bag that Fan identified, so I forced it open.
What did you find in the bag you forced open?
I found a cosmetic case. In a cosmetic case were 5 small, rectangular foil envelopes, which contained white substance. I conclude it to be the prohibited substance.
And what did you do after you found these envelopes?
I called the police from the search area. When he arrived, I told him what happened and handed the envelopes to him.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Defense counsel, you may cross-examine the witness now.
Agent Crow, could you see my client open Alice's luggage?
Can you stand closer to the microphone? We cannot hear your question clearly.
Okay.
Can you move closer to the microphone?
Agent Pro, did you see my client open Allison's luggage?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. Did you see my client open Allison's luggage?
Do you mean I see the bag open?
I'm asking if you saw my client open Allison's luggage.
Request Translation.
Okay, we will translate the question into Chinese. 你有没有看到他的当事人打开 Allison 的包包？
I didn't see the defendant open the bag, but he in possession of the bags.
And did you see him open it?
No, I didn't.
When you asked Peter about the luggage, he stated that the luggage you found the drugs in was not his, correct?
Can you repeat the question?
Peter claims the bag was not his, correct?
But he in possession of the bags.
But he claimed it was not his?
But he in possession of the bags.
Objection, Your Honor. Ask and answer.
Did my client ever appear nervous or suspicious when he claimed his bag and picked up the others for Allison?
Can you repeat the question?
Was my client nervous or suspicious when he picked up the bag for him and Allison?
Do you understand the question? If you don't understand the question, say you don't understand the question.
I can't understand the question. Can you rephrase?
Then the luggage was picked up by my client. Did he seem nervous or suspicious?
We can't hear you clearly. Can you repeat the question?
Did my client appear nervous or suspicious when he picked up the bag for Allison?
Your question is not clearly.
Did my client appear to be nervous when he picked up the bag for Allison?
Is your question about Peddler has suspicious or newness?
No further questions, Your Honor.
We cannot hear it. Your bandwidth is not good, and we are only getting bits and. Can you hear us? We are only getting garbled accounts of what you're saying.
It might help, I don't know.
Okay.
We're going to try a hotspot too. We're having some difficulties, but no further questions from us.
They're only doing this of our audience. Check it out.
Okay.
We call the next witness. We arrest. No further questions, Your Honor.
I call McKim Leary. Please say your name and your occupation.
My name is McKim Leary. I'm currently a detective with the drug squad, and I have held this position for 13 years.
What happened on 13th August 2008 in relation to the defendant when you were working?
I received a call from customs official at approximately 3:13 p.m. requesting my presence at Adelaide International Airport. When I arrived at the airport, I saw the defendant and Mrs. Pro, a customs officer. She gave me 5 small foil packages that were found in a cosmetic case inside the defendant's bag.
What did you do with the small foil packages?
I took them to the police laboratory for analysis, which was conducted by Dr. Z. Fitzpatrick. The analysis found that the substance to be heroin. It is a prohibited drug.
What did the defendant say when you asked him about the drugs?
He claimed that he knew nothing about the drugs, and they belonged to a woman named Allison.
What did the defendant say about this Allison?
The defendant claimed that this Allison is a woman who sat next to him on the airplane. Then he gave me a garbled account of an arrangement, saying that this Allison will come to his house to collect the bag.
When you knew the defendant's claim about this Allison, what did you do?
I ran a passenger check, but there was no one by the name of this Allison on the airplane. What's more, I had the defendant's house under constant police surveillance, and no one comes to collect the bag.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Defense counsel, you may cross-examine the witness.
Interrogate client. Interrogate my client. You will say that the drug repeated.
We cannot understand a word that you are saying because everything is garbled together. And you're frozen too. The image is frozen and now we are not getting any audio at all. Huh?
Can you hear us now?
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes.
Because you were frozen like for a minute. So perhaps can we just go back to the direct dialing? Can we go back to dialing into Zoom?
Go back into what?
We will dial directly into Zoom.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay, we will reconnect. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, guys, now let's get the computer hooked up to finish.
It might try in other ways connected to the